I think the first thing to say about financial management is that, by and large, it's common sense. And if you do what you think is sensible, you won't go far wrong. It's true that there are some techniques and some skills you can learn, which will make the job easier, and that's very important. I'd also say that I think for a successful group, for a group to do good work and deliver good services, managing the finances well is essential. I work with many. I think of it as managing your own money. In a way, you're managing other people's money, so you need to be even more careful and more accountable. But it's really not as complicated as some people might think. Well, financial controls are very important, and it's a good practice to actually agree what these controls are, or rules, or procedures, if you like, and actually get them written down so that the trustees or the board or the committee has agreed that these are our rules, this is what we want to do. And they can be very simple things like who signs the checks. You wouldn't, for example, want a member of staff signing checks for themselves. It's not saying they're going to steal the money, but it's just good practice. So who signs the check? Who can approve expenditure? That kind of thing. What are the rules and procedures for the petty cash? Do you have to get a receipt every time you get some milk? The answer is you ought to. No one's going to. A good general principle when you're keeping accounts in a very simple way, where you're keeping track of the receipts and the payments, is if it happened, write it down, and if it didn't, don't. It's amazing how often people get that wrong when they're doing things simply, and they start to put things down and, oh, let's pretend this happened, and let's pretend that happened, and usually that ends in tears. So as a basic principle, if it happened, write it down. In its simplest terms, a budget is simply a plan expressed in terms of money. And the starting point for a budget is always the organisation, the committee members, the volunteers, the staff, the beneficiaries sometimes, should agree what the plan is. What are we actually going to do in this period ahead, usually a year. Once the plan has been set and we know what we're going to do for the year, then someone, usually a finance person or a small group or subcommittee, would get together and work out a budget for that. What are we going to spend on staff salaries and volunteer expenses, that kind of thing? What are the premises costs going to be? What are the administration costs going to be? The telephone, the rent, the heat, the light, that kind of thing. And then any other costs like activities and conferences and training events, that kind of thing. Normally you'd work out how much it's going to cost you to do what you want to do, and then the question is, well, how are we going to finance it? What income can we get? What grants can we get? What fundraising? And of course, do we have anything in reserve that we can use? We may have money brought forward from the previous year that we haven't spent yet that we can use to do some of this activity. And the idea is that that financial plan or budget would be presented and approved by the board, and then that becomes, if you like, the standard. That's what we're going to do. We've all agreed it.